The Polestar 2 came out 4 years ago, and in the meantime, all of its competitors have gotten updates to their drivetrain, to their battery technology, and to their software. This also got an update last year, so it got a mild facelift and a few updates that we're going to talk about in this video. But its main competitor, the Tesla Model 3, got a massive update and has become much more competitive, and also a car I like very much. And I recently drove that car here on the channel. So today's big question is the Polestar 2 still my favorite electric vehicle at this price point? And in this segment, that we're going to answer in this video. Safety starts with the tire. Tires are the only thing keeping your car on the road and is therefore the most important component of your car. After studdless winter tires have become more and more popular in recent years, many drivers are slow to change back to summer tires for the warmer months. Though studdless winter tires are great when it's cold, they can be very dangerous as temperatures rises. The tire pattern wears quickly and braking distances increases immensely for winter tires and temperatures above 7 degrees Celsius. On wet surfaces, when the temperature rises above 20 degrees Celsius, studdless winter tires are dangerous and offer very low levels of grip and very long braking distances. This has to do with the softer compound of the tire as it's made to perform in cold conditions. Thus, winter tires get too soft during the summer. This is why safety starts with the tire, and Continental recommends you to always change to the correct tire for the season. Stay safe for the summer season and find the correct Continental tire for your car in the link down below. Unless you are very familiar with the Polestar 2, you're going to be hard-pressed to see the difference between this facelifted model and the pre-facelifted version. This being a Polestar 2 Performance, there are two giveaways when it comes to the exterior to distinguish this from the pre-facelifted version. And those are these updated performance wheels and also the front grille, which is now blanked out with a piece of plastic that is the same color as the exterior paint, while before it was a matte grille design. That's it. That's the difference on the exterior when it comes to the pre-facelifted version and this, the updated new facelifted version. I remember when these came out 4 years ago, the summer of 2020, seeing them on the streets of Oslo and just thinking, wow, that is a great and striking design, beautiful proportions, very classically designed, just a beautiful car in general. And in my opinion, it's one of the best designs to come out of the auto industry in the past few decades. After 4 years on the market, it's not as fresh as it once was, but I still think it is one of the absolute best looking electric cars on the market. And considering the fact that it has been out for 4 years, they launched it almost 5 years ago, the design that it is aged this well is testament to how well it's going to age into the future. It is just a very good piece of design, and when it comes to the exterior, this is still one of my absolute favorite electric cars you can buy. I've just spent almost a week in the new Tesla Model 3 Highland, which has an upgraded and updated interior, which is very welcome, nicer materials, and overall a nicer and prettier design. And then I jumped into my private vehicle, which is a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo with quite a few upgrades. It has the 18-way sports seats. It has the upgraded leather interior that gives you leather on top of the dashboard, on top of the doors, lower down on the doors, and also on the center console. And when I jumped into my Porsche, I'm like, yeah, this is a proper luxurious interior compared to that Tesla. And then over the weekend, I jumped into this, and I have to say, and I have to be honest, even though my Porsche is twice the price, and possibly one of the nicest interiors in any electric vehicle that isn't a Rolls-Royce Spectre, this doesn't feel like a big downgrade. In many ways, it's actually a nicer design with more layers, more interesting. And when you get this Nappa leather interior, this upgraded Nappa package with the ventilated seats in this same color, it just elevates the feeling of luxury that you just can't get in any Tesla, in my opinion. This beautiful leather feels so soft to the touch, and the fact that it smells like Nappa leather, it smells like an expensive Italian handbag in here, is just worth this very expensive upgrade. And then you have the design of the dashboard, the center console. You have this cocooned feeling of being just kept in place. It's just very cozy and a nice design. It just feels like a true luxury performance vehicle that I much prefer to the Tesla Model 3. And as I said, I don't think this is a much of a downgrade from my Porsche. Of course, it's not on a Porsche level, but compared to what you're paying, I think this is a brilliant, brilliant interior. Of course, there are places where you have hard touch plastics down low in the cabin, but that is more than overweighted by the materials on top of the doors, inside the doors, on top of here. This interesting, light colored fabric, this beautiful light colored wood. It's just a really nice design. Of course, compared to that Tesla Model 3, it's not nearly as practical. You don't have any center storage here, basically. And also the cup holder situation is still very dumb with the single cup holder where you have to slide back this armrest. I think if they fixed, this cup holder situation and gave it a proper armrest, this interior would be basically perfect if you don't need a lot of storage. I don't usually store a lot of things other than, drinks and maybe my sunglasses and my phone, so I don't need a lot of storage in my cabin, but this cup holder situation is very, very frustrating. And also this huge center tunnel for very tall people, I've heard that it may be annoying and also eat into a lot of leg room. I'm 5'10", 5'11", about 180 centimeters. So, an average adult in the West. I have normal sized legs and a normal sized torso, so I fit just fine in here. I just find it very cozy and cocooning. I don't think this eats into any of the comfort for me, at least, but if you're way above 6 foot, I can absolutely understand that. And also the fact that this has a separated infotainment system screen to the driver's display is also really, really nice. I've talked about this infotainment system and also the interior ergonomics extensively in a lot of videos. The Polestar 2 is one of the cars I've tested the most here on the channel over the years, and it's still ergonomically, user-wise, one of the best cars for me to use. And also this beautiful interior. It's really, really nice. I still like it, and I still think it is one of the best interiors at this price point. But what isn't great is rear seat room if you're going to carry adults. If you're going to carry 3 children, there are a lot better electric vehicles than this. So if you're going to have a lot of people in the rear and you need space, just cross this car off your list, because look at this, not a lot of knee room. Though I could probably move this seat up like a centimeter or 2, there's still not a lot of knee room. Headroom also very, very tight. I have about that much. And also, since this is built on the CMA platform, which is also built to accommodate internal combustion engine vehicles, there is a transmission tunnel. So again, if you're going to carry 3 people abreast here, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. But if you're just going to have, passengers in the back here for, shorter trips, I wouldn't mind this. I mean, I could go for a couple of hours back here. You do have, a nice armrest here. And again, this beautiful leather just elevates the interior, where usually this would feel like a very cramped place if you have the, the dark interior. This being the sink color, it just, makes it a lot lighter, especially with this huge panoramic sunroof. Interestingly enough, if you want a lot of cargo capacity compared to something like a Tesla Model 3, where the Tesla Model 3 is the obvious choice if you're going to carry people in the rear seats. If you're going to carry a lot of stuff, if you're going to move big stuff, this is better. Though on paper, the trunk is smaller than a Tesla Model 3. In practice, because you can remove this partial shelf, you can fold down the rear seats, and this is a hatchback, you have a lot more carrying capacity of bigger items in this compared to that Tesla Model 3. This being the performance version, you get these gold seat belts. You also get these special performance wheels, gold brake calipers from Brembo, and also gold valve stems on the wheels. You also get more power. So the normal dual motor version has 421 or 422 horsepower. This has 476. So it does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.2 seconds. It also has a power split of about 60 to the rear and 40 to the front, not 20, 40 to the front. You also have Öhlins dampers, a much stiffer setup than you have on the non-performance version. And the spring rate or the softness of the dampers can be adjusted manually. It's quite a task to do it. You have to lift up the car, you have to remove some parts. It's not, just doing it simply through the infotainment system. But, it's kind of gimmicky, but these Öhlins dampers are, renowned in the performance world, and Öhlins are also a renowned brand when it comes to racing and performance suspension parts. So these are really good dampers. This car is set to in between stiffest and softest, and in my opinion, as I've said for 4 years now, I think the performance setup in this car is too harsh, too bouncy, too stiff for my liking on the roads where I drive here in Oslo and also in the suburbs of Oslo. On smooth asphalt like this, it's fine. On the motorway and on country roads, it's actually really good, because where that Tesla Model 3 long-range dual motor I had last week, at speeds above 100 kilometers an hour, when the motorway gets a little bit bumpy, the car just bounces a lot. I've had none of that with this car. It's so settled and confidence inspiring on its suspension, but so is the non-performance version. About 3 years ago, I took a long-range dual motor down to Italy and back, and I drove it on the Autobahn at VMAX, 205 kilometers an hour. And on the, I think it's the A7 motorway that goes from north to south, one of the oldest Autobahns in Germany, where it's just really twisty and there are a lot of changes in elevation. And I had a real fun time chasing this Audi S4, and the car just felt so confidence inspiring. So, this is a better setup, like dynamically, this performance setup, but I still think the normal car is better. And what you get with the normal car, especially with 19-inch wheels, is a much softer and supple ride. So it depends on where you live. For me, if I lived maybe outside of the city, I just drove on country roads and on the motorway, this would probably be fine and preferable. But because I live in Oslo, where a lot of the roads are terrible, it's not my preferred setup for this car. Like, just these here, the asphalt is really smooth, but just small bumps, it just, it doesn't upset the car, but it just bounces. And that is one of the things I didn't like about the previous version, the pre-facelift version of the Tesla Model 3, is that it never settled. And on bad roads, this just, in my opinion, never settles. So other than the ride quality in this car not being the optimal, again, it can be fixed by just getting the non-performance version with 19-inch wheels, I think the overall driving experience in this car is so nice. I mean, it's not the most sporty and it's not the most comfortable, but it strikes a very nice balance between both, where it does have a lot of power. I mean, this 476 horsepower is going to be felt at 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time of 4.2 seconds is rapid. What I really like is just the weight of all the controls, like the throttle, the brake, the steering, the way everything just reacts. It just feels very natural, and that is missing in a lot of cars. So the downside of this car, this specifically in my opinion, is the ride comfort, being on the performance suspension, but also the steering. I've driven both the Polestar 3 recently and the Polestar 4 and a lot of other cars, but when I just compare this to other Polestars, that's where in the driving department I think they've had the most progress, is the steering tuning, where this, it has a decent weight when you go off center and you just drive, but when you're pushing this car, when you're loading up the tires through a corner, the steering just doesn't weight up naturally. You get no feel, you get no sensation of what the tires are doing. And that is something that is present in the new Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4. It's actually very impressive about those cars. And of course, my reference point is my own Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, which arguably has one of the best steerings in any car. It's a little bit heavier in that car, but it also weights up nicely. You can feel what the road is doing. But I have to say, compared to my Porsche, I think the Polestar 3 and the Polestar 4 has very close steering, and this is a far cry from those new cars. But that being said, it is better than in that Tesla Model 3, because where the Tesla Model 3 initially has very quick and fast steering, slower than before, which is a nice thing, but quick steering compared to this, that actually lightens up when you load up the wheels through a corner, which is the exact opposite of what it should do. So this is a nice performance car, but if you don't need this performance, if you don't live in a place where you have smooth roads, I think the performance pack, because of the weakness of the steering, doesn't give you much in matter of driving joy, in my opinion. So I just forgo the whole performance pack, save a lot of money, get more ride comfort, and just have a more balanced car. So the biggest changes with this facelift version, except for the exterior styling, few new colors on the interior, and different wheel options, is the bigger battery pack, especially in the long range version, where the old one had a usable capacity of 75 kilowatt hours. This new one has a usable capacity of 79 kilowatt hours. That, alongside new electric motors that are more efficient. The front motor is now asynchronous, which means it can completely decouple, so there's no drag when you're driving, gives this car somewhere in between 120 to 150 kilometers more range compared to the pre-facelifted model. This one here has 565 kilometers, this performance version, but if you go for the non-performance with 19-inch wheels, the dual motor, you're almost going to get 600 kilometers of range according to WLTP. I've tested one of these in Germany on the Autobahn at 120 kilometers an hour, very nice summer conditions, and I got almost 400 kilometers. I also did a test last week with this specific vehicle here with really varying conditions, and I got like 350 or 360 kilometers. So if you go for the non-performance version with the 19-inch wheels, I'm pretty sure you're going to get somewhere between 410 and 430 kilometers of real world range, and that is not far behind the Tesla Model 3 long-range dual motor. In every regard, the Tesla Model 3, when it comes to being an electric car, is going to be better. Faster charging speeds, more efficient, longer range. It's also going to be faster if you go for the performance version or the non-performance versus the non-performance version, and it's also going to be cheaper. But I think this looks better on the exterior. I think it drives a lot better, and I think also the interior is miles better, though not as roomy in this as the Tesla Model 3. For me, getting this with the leather seats, getting the non-performance version with 19-inch wheels, and getting, the Pilot package, the Plus package, and a few niceties is going to be more expensive than an equivalent Tesla Model 3, but I think the upgrade is well worth it if it's going to be a car you're going to live with on a daily basis, because it's just so much more enjoyable to drive than the Tesla Model 3 and a lot less annoying, in my opinion. So you don't have to go for the leather, and then the price is going to be very close to a Tesla Model 3, but I would go because having that extra luxury with this beautiful synced colored Napa leather interior, in my opinion, is worth my money. So to answer the question at the beginning of the video, yes, the Polestar 2 is still my favorite electric car in this price segment, and yes, I still think you should, skip over the performance version and just get the long-range dual motor. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.